Hi, and welcome to Talks with Shay. So, today I would like to begin with reading from Psalm chapter 103 and verse 13. And it says, Like as a father pitieth his children, so the Lord pitieth them that fear him. So, today, for part one of parenting, I would like to talk to you about role model. So, hello there, and we are welcoming today my friend Lana Richard today, and we're going to be talking about what life was like for her growing up in a two-parent home, and she's also having the privilege of raising her kids the exact same way. So, welcome to Talks with Shay.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, tell us what life was like growing up in a two-parent home.
It was all the things. It was good. It was wonderful. It was hard. It was easy. It was everything. A lot of it was learning how to balance relationships with a man and a woman because you had to learn how mom operated. You had to learn how dad operated. Mm-hmm. And that helped a lot prepare me for marriage, I feel like. And then also raising a boy and a girl because male and female, boy, they are sure different.
Yes.
And it was a lot of learning. Watching their relationship grow helped me to understand marriage. Mm-hmm. And watching how they reacted to things together, how they solved conflict, how they responded to my conflicts that I brought into the home, and the team that they created.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It was very enlightening and encouraging, and it was eye-opening to see
a blessing,
and they taught me together how to love God and trust God, and it was great to see their team growing up.
And I think like even with, because nowadays we don't see that too often, right? We see a lot of broken up homes, unfortunately. It's never how God intended it to be, but it happens. Yeah. God doesn't force us to make decisions. We have a choice.
That's true.
And so I think it's a beautiful thing. I didn't grow up in a two-parent home, but would you say, like, I guess, like, with having a dad figure there, did it help you to know, like, what to look for in a guy?
It did. It definitely shaped what I expected out of relationships. So, if I didn't date very much, but I was always aware of guys, and I would watch, and I'd be like, oh, no, my dad would never do that.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of, my dad would never do that. That's a hard no for me. It definitely gave me a good guideline for my male relationships.
Yeah.
Even friendships with growing up as a teenager, if I saw that guys were acting a way that my dad would never behave, I was like, I don't think I can handle that. I don't think I want to be that, because that's not what was put before me and what I grew up knowing.
Yeah. And that's beautiful, because I think, like, for me, my dad, I wasn't raised in the home with my dad. When my dad and mom separated or divorced or whatever, I was very young. And I know, like, growing up, I probably had unhealthy relationships. Not probably, I did have a lot of unhealthy relationships, because I didn't know, like, how a man is supposed to treat a woman.
Yeah.
It was almost as if, like, for me, it was like, well, he's interested, you're ugly, you better be interested too. Like, I didn't have a choice,
Yeah.
So that male figure wasn't there like you had to say, oh no, dad don't act like that, like,
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing, because everybody doesn't have that privilege,
That's
and
true.
she's an amazing person as well.
Thanks.
But and then you have that to balance it out. Something, it's almost like he was like that role model for you, like what you were looking for. Because I know people say that a lot. Like, most of the time women will marry men that remind them of their father.
Yes.
That happened.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
My husband and my dad are very similar. Even in the way that they pick and they joke, and their sense of humor is almost exact.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good though.
It is.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is
good.
It's great.
Yeah, because I know for me, when I look back, like my dad is a divorced person. So it was almost like, okay, here goes this generational thing being divorced, and stuff like that. But I'm thankful that, God kept me through all of the broken relationships and broken marriages and stuff. God is still good.
He is.
He is good.
He is good.
So would you say, even raising like your kids now in a 2-parent home, and you see how society is now, that's a blessing,
It is.
to have that partnership.
It is. I'm very grateful for it. It's good, and it keeps me not on my toes, but it keeps me aware of how I parent in front of them, because I want them to see what my parents showed me, and I want to raise them to see healthy relationships,
Yes.
and to have, because then that translates to a healthy relationship with God,
Right.
and with others, and so it keeps me on my toes, and it
Yeah.
keeps me balanced, or I try to be balanced, and it keeps me constantly aware of how I parent them. And I mean, I love my husband, I love my kids, and so I want everything about our relationship, all 4 of us, to be healthy. And then we have the older 2, Summer and Damien, who
Right.
also, I want them to see healthy relationships
Right.
as well.
And I think that's a lot what we miss in our lives. Because I know when I look back in my life, I didn't see healthy relationships. So, it's perfect like you say that, because it is the truth. If you don't have that before you, it's like, what are you supposed to look at to know what it looks like?
Yes.
When I think of that right now in my life, a healthy relationship to me would be my pastor and his wife. So that's what I look at like, as an example, because I didn't have that growing up. I didn't see healthy relationships. I saw divorces. Mom divorced, dad divorced, they both remarried, dad divorced again. It was like grandmother raised me, but grandmother ended up being divorced. So it was like divorce all around me. And so it almost became like a common thing, and made it seem like it was okay when God hates divorce, right? And but it's beautiful. What would you say, like, did you see conflict a lot, like in your growing up between your parents? Did they argue in front of y'all? I know it might be a little bit too deep, but don't go too deep in it, because we don't want to spread their business. But I feel like, I know you said getting to see how to handle conflict, like in a healthy way. Because I think, like, in one of my marriages, I had my ex-husband tell me one time he didn't like us disagreeing in front of the kids. And I was like, to me, if you do it in a healthy way, it's healthy for them to see how to deal with conflict. Would you agree with that?
I really would. I was actually thinking about that. I did see my parents. They did have disagreements and arguments and all the things that come with 2 humans living together for a long time.
Right.
You're not going to get along perfectly. But I always saw, and the only thing that I really remember is that afterwards, everything just went back to normal, because they loved each other, and they got through it, and then kept going.
Right.
Because it's going to happen.
Yes.
Nobody is going to live together
and never have an argument.
Never have an argument. It's
right.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And so it was the getting through it.
Yes.
And that's what I want for my kids too. They see that no matter if mommy and dad get frustrated with each other, we argue, we disagree, we don't see eye to eye on something, we will always get through it.
Right.
And keep going. Because in the grand scheme of things, that's what matters, is that you keep going through it all.
Right.
And that translates to with God. Whenever you feel disappointed and you feel like you don't agree with what he really wants from you, but you keep going. You keep trusting, and you keep loving, and you keep the relationship alive.
Yeah. And that's great. I know, like, for me, she's a great person, guys.
Oh,
okay?
She is too.
And but I love the way her baby is my little baby, my everything. She's the sweetest little girl ever. And it's just a blessing to see, you raise your kids together with your husband, the way y'all work together with things, and everything. See it happen, I think kids need to see stuff like that, see what a healthy relationship looks like, see where conflict happens, but how you deal with it in a mature way, because the Bible tells us to receive forgiveness, we have to forgive. And I think, like, kids need to see that yeah, we may disagree, but guess what, we're gonna be okay. We get through it. Ain't no physical things happen to have a disagreement, you know. You think of even just friendships in general. You bump heads with friends, right?
That's human nature.
It's human nature. We all are different, but the important thing is what happens after that.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. She's like, it's true. It's true.
So true.
Yeah. So what would you say out there to people that possibly maybe didn't have that privilege? You know, is there anything that you would want to tell them? Maybe they didn't have the privilege of being raised in a 2-parent home. Is there any advice that you would give anybody today?
Let's see. You mean correlating to like their relationship?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing is not giving up and not letting go of the truth, because feelings lie, feelings hurt, feelings deceive, and like they say, love is a choice, staying is a choice, and always forgiving is a choice. Yeah. It's not something you ever feel like doing. Nobody wants to be wrong and be like, look, I'm sorry, I was wrong. You always want to be right, but that admitting that you're wrong and loving through it all is what I grew up learning and seeing.
That's beautiful.
And so that would be the only thing that I can think of.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I was happy to be here.
We'll see you later. So before I go, I just want to remind you, if you haven't already, check out my website at www.talkswithshay.org. You can subscribe to my videos on YouTube and find me on Facebook. Like my page, share my page, invite your friends to like my page. And until next time with Talks with Shay, Shay is out. Y'all be blessed.